When you watch a building collapse on the news, it always looks like just absolute chaos, like a massive, terrifying cloud of dust and debris.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It just looks like total unmitigated destruction.
Exactly. But, I mean, if you actually talk to an explosives engineer, someone who does controlled demolitions, they tell you a completely different story.
Right, because to them it isn't chaos at all.
Yeah, it's incredibly precise. They target the structural weaknesses, they bring down what is unstable, and they clear the site. And they do it so something stronger can be built in its place.
It is basically the ultimate form of creative destruction. I mean, the rubble isn't the end of the story. It is the prerequisite for the new architecture.
And welcome to today's deep dive, because we are applying that exact concept to human psychology today. We have a really fascinating stack of sources for you.
We really do. We're looking at the ancient biblical text of Isaiah chapter 4, and that's paired with a really insightful analytical guide on its modern applications.
Yeah, and our mission today is to figure out how to survive a total life reset. We want to see how this ancient wisdom can radically shift how we process loss.
And ultimately, how it can strengthen our trust and relationship with God when, everything just feels like it's crumbling around us.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because before we even look at the rebuilding phase in Chapter 4, we really have to understand the collapse that forces it.
Right. Context is absolutely crucial here. If you were to read the preceding text, chapter 3 of Isaiah, you wouldn't just find some minor societal hiccup.
No, it is a meticulous detailing of total systemic breakdown.
Exactly. The text describes a society where leadership has completely crumbled, the economy has evaporated, and the culture is morally bankrupt. So it's the demolition phase.
The dust is still very much in the air.
Yeah, very much so.
And Chapter 4 opens right in the immediate aftermath of that dust cloud. And it begins with a genuinely jarring image.
It really is jarring.
Yeah. Verse 1 says that in that day, 7 women shall take hold of one man. And they basically say, look, we will eat our own bread, we will wear our own apparel, just let us be called by your name to take away our reproach.
What's fascinating here is that to an ancient audience, this isn't just a metaphor for loneliness.
Right. It has real legal and physical weight.
Exactly. In ancient agrarian societies, your physical survival, your economic safety net, it was all intrinsically tied to your household.
Yeah.
A woman without a husband or father wasn't just facing social stigma.
She was entirely, completely economically vulnerable.
Right, she had no legal covering to protect her access to resources. So the reproach wasn't just embarrassment. It was a literal threat to her survival in a collapsed society.
So they are essentially waiving the standard societal contract just to survive.
Yeah, they're saying, we don't need you to provide for us. We just need the legal label of your name so we aren't picked off by the harshness of this broken world.
Doesn't this show how pressure forces us to lower our standards? I mean, it sounds a lot like someone taking an incredibly toxic job.
Oh, absolutely. Or staying in a severely draining relationship.
Exactly. Just because the fear of the void, the fear of having absolutely nothing, feels infinitely worse than the pain of a bad situation.
It is a masterclass in the psychology of scarcity. When your environment collapses, your brain's amygdala basically hijacks your higher reasoning. You enter full survival mode.
So you just eagerly accept deeply compromised, uneven situations.
Right. The analytical source material highlights a very stark principle here. It says what you tolerate under pressure shows what you actually value.
Wow, so if you aren't grounded before a crisis, you will definitely compromise.
Yes, because the pressure just removes our filters and reveals our baseline priorities. If your ultimate value is just avoiding the feeling of being alone, you will accept almost any level of toxicity.
But I mean, desperation isn't the end of the story here. It actually leads directly to a process of purification.
It really does. Verses 2 through 4 completely shift the imagery.
Yeah, it introduces the branch of the Lord, and it describes it as beautiful and glorious, and says the fruit of the earth is excellent for those who have escaped.
And then it details this really intense process where God washes away the filth of the daughters of Zion.
Right, and purges the blood by the spirit of judgment and the spirit of burning.
Which tells us the chaos wasn't a punishment meant to indiscriminately destroy everything. It was a necessary filter.
Like divine surgery.
Exactly. Think about chaos engineering and software development. Major tech companies intentionally introduce severe bugs into their own live servers. They literally crash their systems on purpose.
Oh, right, like stress testing the system to see what breaks before a real cyber attack happens.
Yes, the engineers aren't doing it to destroy the platform, they're doing it to expose the weak points. The text is describing a form of spiritual chaos engineering. The breakdown removes what doesn't belong.
So what does this all mean? I mean, for you listening to this, how does it apply?
It means it reframes painful loss as a deeply intentional diagnostic tool.
What fell apart just wasn't meant to stay.
Right. Understanding this modern translation really strengthens our trust in God.
Because it means the loss can actually be refinement, not just pointless damage.
Exactly. Sometimes things must be stripped down before they can be rebuilt correctly. Trusting God during a collapse means trusting the skill of the lead engineer.
That is such a powerful way to look at it. You aren't just taking damage, you're being clarified. But once that system crashes and the faulty code is removed, like, what is actually left?
Well, you get a clarified identity. And that identity requires a very specific type of protection.
Yeah. Verses 5 and 6 have this super vivid imagery. God creates a cloud and smoke by day and a shining, flaming fire by night over Mount Zion.
Which, for an ancient reader, is the most iconic historical callback possible. It's the exact description of the Exodus out of Egypt.
Right. It's the ultimate symbol of God's direct presence. And it mentions a tabernacle being provided as a shadow from the heat and a covert or refuge from storms.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, protection strictly follows alignment.
The remaining people are described as clean and set apart, right?
Yes, they have allowed the false layers to be burned away. They have been brought back into alignment with God's original design.
You know, I was thinking about this. We are so conditioned to believe we find our identity by adding more things to our life. But this suggests you find it by removing what doesn't fit. Is this why we only feel secure when our lives are structured correctly?
That is exactly why. We assume more layers equal more security.
Like adding more skills to the resume or more social connections.
Right. But an overloaded structure is inherently a fragile structure. Chaos creates vulnerability, regardless of wealth or status. Alignment, on the other hand, creates protection.
So stability isn't random. It is meticulously built.
Yes. By submitting to God's alignment, we gain that tabernacle of spiritual and emotional shelter. It is a refuge from the psychological storms.
Which brings us to the final phase here, the actual process of rebuilding. The refinement is complete, the protection is in place.
And there's a massive reality check in our source material regarding this phase.
Yeah, the chapter does not say that everything just miraculously goes back to normal.
No, it only restores what has been refined.
It is definitely not a factory settings restored button.
Right, and this is what most people get wrong. They read Isaiah 4 as just some hopeful message after judgment.
Like a warm, fuzzy fairy tale.
Exactly. But it is much deeper than that. It is about accepting that some losses in the fire are permanent.
Here's where it gets really interesting. You don't get everything back. You get what is worth keeping.
Yes, it is the ultimate lesson in quality over quantity.
So we really need to stop trying to recover everything. We spend years trying to win back a toxic friend group or recreate a job that burned us out.
Which is a complete waste of energy. This raises an important question, though. How do we manage our own recovery?
Because renewal is possible, right? The text explicitly promises it. The branch will be glorious.
It is possible, but it's not automatic. You don't rebuild by stubbornly ignoring what broke in the first place.
Right, you can't just slap a fresh coat of paint over dry rot. You have to fix it.
Exactly. Growth requires our active participation with God's process. You have to face what needs to change, and you have to grieve the necessary losses.
Because if you just rush to pour concrete over the empty lot, you're reinstalling the same buggy software that caused the crash.
Precisely. God is offering a new structure, a permanent stability, but the entry fee is accepting the loss of those unstable elements.
So let's bring this journey full circle for you. The breakdown reveals instability, and then that loss acts as a filter.
Which then clarifies your true identity.
And then divine protection follows that alignment, so we finally step out and rebuild only what is real.
Trusting God doesn't mean trusting Him to stubbornly prevent all collapse. It means trusting Him as the master architect.
Who strips away the false so you can build a life that actually lasts.
Exactly. It is a construction site for your future.
It really is. So as you look at your own life and the spaces that have felt the heat of refinement, the places where things have shifted under your feet, how will you apply this information in your life?